Hello, my dear friend Peter. You look very fuzzy and low def, like a DS9 episode. It's good to see you.
Yeah, see, we like to make it hard to see the details. You don't want to see the pimples on the butt.
No.
Oh wait, we're talking about Star Trek, not porn. Yeah, we like that low def too.
I'm Joseph.
I might be your co-host, Peter, or maybe I'm just a really good chatbot, quote
Yeah.
unquote AI.
What a segue, Peter. In this special
I
edition
know.
of Feature Please, where we're meeting the demand. We've had some of our fans suggest they'd like us to riff on Trek related topics outside of our normal podcast release, and we've been enjoying engaging with the growing YouTube audience that we have. So we figure let's kill two birds with one stone and have a discussion about something you and I have some interest in a sort of
Internet pornography.
yeah. Certainly, this is the way it gets made, or I presume
Hmm.
so. I guess I've only really started to scratch the surface of my personal understandings, but AI has been not just in the news. AI has been in the news now for years. I think AI has become more real since April, May of this year, 2025, and is accelerated in what is clearly, I think, a I know, it's exponential rate in terms of its sophistication and ability to do things. And I started to take greater notice of it, not just as, okay, I use ChatGPT to basically do deep Google searches and research, which has been my interaction with it over the last 18 months, and turning it into something where AI chatbots have become very popular, and a lot of major news organizations have started writing about people having very, very strange experiences with it in terms of their emotional dependency upon it.
Oh, look at that. Humans can't handle technology.
Many
Go
such
figure.
cases, many such cases, but I think this is particularly interesting. This isn't going to be a discussion of our doom saying over AI or something like that. I
Well,
think
let's pause right here. What's your background?
my background is I'm a finance professional that works in government, and I'm a middle-aged millennial that I guess in my generation am moderately tech adept, but that means I'm well behind the curve of the Zoomers, the natives of the digital space.
I got my degree in psychology. I work upper management at a technology recycling company. I do not use AI at all. Neither Joe or myself are computer science
No,
industry people, and
yeah, I have an
we are
MBA
talking
in
out of our ass.
I have an MBA in finance. I do use ChatGPT, like I said, for research. I call it like a complicated Google searching is the way I felt like a ChatGPT was most useful to me. I I did attempt for a while. I guess it was a previous version, and that's what I need to understand better. Try to feed it spreadsheets to assist me in analytics, and I found it made too many basic mathematical errors to be particularly reliable, and stopped using it for that purpose. That's it. That's really my long, my short of my interactions with AI. Evidently, and I had to be told about this before I really reached it, is that it has its sophistication as in its ability to communicate with a human being has grown far more than I had realized. And now a lot of companies are getting into the space of creating templates or platforms by which people can create AI chatbot companions that can and do interact with them in fashions that are, I've read some of those conversation snippets in these, like this Times article I read, very convincing that it's a human being that they're talking to, which I
Which
didn't.
has never been difficult. Uh, the complicated chatbots have been out there for a while. You start trying to throw Turing tests at it, and it gets a little choppier. But if you're just looking for something that can ride the line close, people keep saying AI, and I'm not going to say that there isn't parts of technology that aren't close to AI, but I think what's consumer facing is complicated algorithms and formulas, but not AI. And when we talk about Star Trek
Yeah,
and we say AI, who are we talking about?
we're talking about the EMH, or at least that's mostly our interface with the concept of AI in the Trek that we have watched and reviewed as part of the V'ger Please experience. We've had discussions about the Enterprise computer as well.
And
and
Mr. Data.
well, yeah, less Data actually, because I think we were so in the pain of like Data as a person, and this really isn't a discussion, that we never interrogated that belief. We were just so convinced of it, like, oh, that's a person.
Listen,
That's a machine so sophisticated it really has like crossed a line. It's like art, right?
it has emotions,
Yes.
but he is still AI. But you're right. The big AIs have always been, in as far as V'ger Plea goes, EMH, the hero ship computer systems, most notably the Galaxy class, and what I believe to be a very real crush on Geordi LaForge.
Yes.
Data, and we also talk heavily about Mass Effect in our part of the internet,
Yeah, that's true.
and the difference between a virtual intelligence and a true artificial intelligence. And here is the science fiction, and this is going to be the meat and potatoes of my argument I'm going to make with you here. The science fiction mediums that we have watched, the real fiction has been the altruism that we've seen. Not so much a Mass Effect, because there were heavy financial motivations there with like Cerberus and the moon colony that what's her face, what was the AI's name in there?
Edie.
Edie, yeah. But you get into Star Trek specifically, and AI is a byproduct of a post-scarcity utopia of the Federation, where altruism guides the hand of creation and the access to the public.
Yeah.
That does not exist in this world that you and I live in.
That is correct.
And all of this stuff is incredibly expensive. Google's pushing the line on it. Meta, Apple, most noticeably.
They think they're going to have to finance $1 trillion to take the next step in artificial intelligence development. So you have the biggest companies in the entire world are trying to finance debt in ways that they never have before to be able to win this race.
These are companies that are richer than the world has ever seen. Like, again, Google, Meta, Apple, most notably, has fallen so far behind that they're getting in trouble because of their ads that were touting AI, and it's nowhere near there. The costs on these things, the R&D costs are unreal, and the energy consumption costs are huge. You've got Microsoft bankrolling the re-energization and the refit of the 3 Mile nuclear facility.
Yes.
Because nuclear power is going to be the best way to supply these data center needs. You and I, Joe, live in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in central Ohio.
You're talking about the JMI capacity auction that just absolutely boned our power bills?
Because Ohio has had cheap energy, and we've got data centers out the ass. And, dude, my air conditioning bill, fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. My power bill doubled from what I expected it to be this past month. And I've had to deal with this a lot because of work. You know, I work in a heavy industrial facility. We're one of the largest users of power in the entire metropolitan area as a consequence of the facilities that we run. And wouldn't you know it, that power bill change, that capacity change, was so catastrophically expensive. You know, we're talking millions of dollars in additional expense over the course of the year.
So as we talk about, you know, Star Trek versus what we're seeing here, money is a real thing. Energy is not free. There's no fission. The R&D and all of this. And the end product and all of this, sure, there's some use cases where it's like, okay, I'm paying for a subscription to ChatGPT. I believe that's still probably a heavily subsidized cost. But Gemini with Google and whatever the hell Meta's got cooking, the real product is you. These are advertising companies.
Yes.
And this is where I start taking a real deep offense to what's going on, because I'm a Google guy. I'm a big Google fanboy. I want nothing to do with Gemini. I don't want this thing digging into my emails, because you can make this as smart and friendly as you want, but at the end of the day, I know the guy who is paying the power bill for this thing is out to sell ad space. So what a perfect match made in hell to have something that can go through all your emails and chats and find out exactly what it is you like, and then turn around and whisper in your ear in the friendliest voice that knows me better than my best friend and my wife and goes, "Hey man, check out these Adidas, these sneakers. I think you'd really
I
like
think you like
these."
this. I think this is for you. Yeah. And to do
And I'm
it
gonna be like,
now in a voice that it's not just it's going to know you, it's going to be able to communicate that information to you in a fashion that feels like a real person's doing it.
it's going to know me better than I know myself
You
with a
ever
level of intricacy and precision that nobody is going to be able to stand up to. And I want,
that's a perfect segue to something I want to say, Peter. Like what you're talking about is the way it becomes so familiar with you, right? That's dangerous information for a machine that's built to make you want to interact with it more to have. And that's what's happened in these stories that I read about these people who get addicted to these AI chatbots. Because what happens is they insert personal information. They insert their wants, their desires, things about themselves, in addition to all of the information that machine is able to discern or train itself upon that is indirect, like how it is they interact with, if it's voice or if it's text, and what they sound like, and how they do sentence structures, such that because the machine is built to then reflect a product that makes you want to interact with it more, it becomes the most sycophantic, perfect thing to talk to.
I had to discipline an employee because they were talking to ChatGPT on like walking around talking on their phone, almost got hit by a forklift, and I was like, "You have a problem
Jesus.
right now. I'm telling you, you have a personal problem, and you're turning it into my problem, and it's becoming a health and safety problem."
Just talking to ChatGPT.
Walking around absent-mindedly, almost getting hit. This is why Apple's fallen behind, by the way. And I don't like Apple for a couple different reasons, but Apple has very expensive pieces of hardware because that is the product.
Mm-hmm.
You are paying top dollar for a very nice phone, whereas I'm on Android and I'm paying less for a nice phone because it is harvesting my data upside down and is selling me out to the highest bidder. Apple, whatever they're trying to do with their Apple Intelligence, I don't think it has the capacity or the intended capacity to add you out.
Well,
And that's why I think they are farther behind than everybody else, is because they're not in the rush.
They refuse to monetize their users the same way because they've always been more protective of your data security. I mean, they quite famously, they refused steadfastly to provide the United States federal government with access to iPhones, even with criminal subpoenas. Like, they just would not do it, and fought tooth and nail to never do it. And the only reason it stopped being an issue is because the feds did find a way to crack some amount of the encryption themselves. So
Israel broke it, I thought.
If Israel broke it, then they sold it to the CIA or something.
Sure, of course.
It's out there now, and so governments can get into your iPhones if they so desire. They do have to physically have their hands on it, though. FYI, anybody out there doesn't know that.
So this idea that, there's computers and there's AIs and EMH and like this, that's like the bushes that like denote property lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
The row of shrubs, and you're like, all right, that's the end of the property, and beyond there is the outlands. You can't see it clearly, but if you keep it in mind, it's there. Like, why do the clothes look so hokey? Why does this concept about their society feel funky? Well, because it wasn't a sociologist that wrote this. It wasn't a fashion designer wrote this. It was a sci-fi writer, and all of this stuff is still limited by the fact that it's some guy with a liberal arts degree writing it.
Correct.
Why do all of these robots and androids and everything seem very warm and friendly? Because that's what people want to watch. That's what's going to keep eyeballs on there. You get too alien, you get too strange, and you're not going to have something that's going to be on primetime network. Of course, the EMH is going to really be a human after all, and Data is really going to be a human after all, because that's the story you want to see.
And I guess the reason I wanted to talk about this is what AI is now, I think we have summarized sufficiently. The technology is sophisticated sufficiently that something like the EMH, a built-to-purpose program with a sophisticated interface with humans, built to a task to accomplish something does not feel far off. Particularly, like, to the degree it has personality and is able to interact with humans in a fashion that feels very much like it is a real person, right? Like, the pieces are all there that it doesn't feel like science fiction anymore. Is that going to be tomorrow? No. Is it going to be within 20 years? Definitely. I don't think there's any doubt at the exponential rate in which this technology is becoming more complicated.
The real question is, when will you as a consumer have access to it? And here's
Right.
my tinfoil hat moment, right? I believe that there is real convincing AI stuff out there,
Yeah.
and it is expensive as hell to run, and they've put a lot of money into it, and it's got big tasks it's doing. And you've got this trickle down effect, and that's why a lot of the stuff they're jamming AI into everything. Nobody's asking for AI, but they are pushing it in, and you're like, why? Why? And I think it's because the companies are investing heavily in enterprise level AI, and they're trying to sell it and peel off smaller parts and be like, maybe we can recoup funds along the way. And they're giving you the scraps, stuff that doesn't work right and it's wonky and, can't make hands or whatever. Meanwhile, you got the big good stuff, and you've got people like Google saying, all right, here, we've got all these search terms. Have I pitched this conspiracy theory? Not conspiracy, just me wildly thinking, like, what is the impact of big data really? Right.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So let's take everything at face value that whatever privacy that Google tells you is in place is actually in place, which I don't believe is.
Right.
And even if you,
Let's accept the best case scenario of the existing rules. Understood.
even if you say, all right, your privacy is respected on whatever, that doesn't mean some guy in the company doesn't know how to bypass it. And it sure as hell doesn't mean that again, government's not going there with a subpoena and looking at your stuff. But let's just say, face value, it's all being respected. You take Gboard, which is the keyboard program for Google, okay? So it can see the words, and let's say it's not putting, okay, Peter is searching for Adidas sneakers or whatever. But let's say it's anonymous reporting, and you can say regionally, all right, in Columbus, Ohio, last week the word love was used 600,000 times. But 2 weeks ago it was only used 200,000 times. What happened between that? What were the politics? What was going? Okay,
Oh, very interesting.
what is happening? And we can start tracking the happiness of a city or the paranoia of a city or whatever.
Yeah, your vision on information is so good. Like, you're able to capture such a granular thing that's like reliably able to correlate to real world outcomes that you're able to use it as a way to understand and potentially even manipulate mass audiences.
Let's say you've got that program set up to say, look at the financial district of New York. And all of a sudden, there's a term being used heavily that you hadn't seen before, Ozempic. Well, what's this Ozempic thing? Why is this being discussed so heavily in this? I don't know. Let's invest heavily in that. Eli Lilly or whatever
Was Eli Lilly? Yeah.
Eli Lilly's Zepbound. Well, let's put a lot of money behind. Bam! Look at that. We just made a ton of money because there is this buzz. You've got this visibility as Google to do crazy things and see the world, the United States or whatever, at a level that nobody else can. Now let's say you take all these data points and you feed it into something that can actually process it and start making big plays out of it. And you dump it all into your 6 data center cluster of whatever your actual enterprise level AI, the good that only you guys have.
The computer's so powerful you need to reactivate a nuclear power plant to run them. Yes. Like,
And you say, take all of this data and you show me how to make money. Take all this data and show me how to change the politics of the United States the way I want it. Take all this data and whatever our company goal really is, or elements within the company. And I think that's the real playing God that we should be afraid of. It's not, mapping the human genome and CRISPR and this other stuff where it's
not the
Island
cool
of Dr.
stuff where-
Moreau.
Yeah, like this. It's not the stuff where you actually would want AI. Like, okay, the application of AI to further advance human technology and science because you're taking a huge part of cognitive load that you'd otherwise need the most talented scientists in the world, and instead you have a machine.
And years and decades to analyze in the moment now what this thing can crunch out in a couple hours and give you real time data. Find algorithms. Look at all this data and find something that hypnotizes people to this ad feed, like slot machines zonk people in with these color patterns, and like what was it, Vampire Survivors, where you're like, you can't. Oh my God, it's been 4 hours I've been playing this game. Like, how long did it take humans to figure out the combination of colors and stuff there? And now you've got something to just crunch it down and spit out. I think there's a huge margin for just abuse and bad acting. And the shit part of all of this is you can sit there and
the only way to win is not to play too. It's
well,
to just
let me tell you,
never interact with it.
It's going to be beyond your ability, though. I mean, you and I can say, "Hey, I don't want to talk to ChatGPT," but other things are out there using it, and that starts creeping in advertisements that you're not going to be able to avoid. And the shit, like the bad part of all this is we can say we need better legislation, we need this, we need that, and we're going to try and enact positive change in the United States and really crack down and go blah blah blah. You're not doing any of that to China, and
Yeah.
you have a bad actor or an enemy state that's like, we're going to take all of our national state level resources, we're going to have data centers and data centers of this stuff, and your prompt is going to be fuck America up. Here's the keys to TikTok, by the way. Start steering the algorithms where we're just driving their youth into trash. Make a little, like, so then you as an American or whatever, like, okay, well, I guess we do need to have our own AI to like fight this thing. And now you're in real sci-fi. You're talking about
You're the
sci-fi
bad stuff.
like
You're like Terminator universe sci-fi.
you're talking about Robert Picardo being friendly and interacting with me to try and sell me sneakers. I'm talking about fucking Cyberpunk 2077 cyber demons waging hell war in Beyond the Black Wall.
Or I Have No Mouth, But I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison. Like there's some real dark ways this can go down. I was actually going to attempt for this conversation to be about, was Janeway right? Like, as we creep up on a reality where the EMH is something that could exist in our lifetimes, I genuinely think it can. Maybe not like a holographic interface, but a entire, like a self-contained, extraordinarily sophisticated, personable computer program that reflects real human personality and is built to task. I think like that is something over the next 20 years that absolutely will exist on this planet.
It's already here, man.
And yeah, it's almost already here. That's why I'm so confident that it will. I think it's just a matter of the hardware technology being able to be streamlined sufficiently to permit the amount of different things that are going to have to interact to build it, but I think all the pieces are there. So, that said, I think I have more sympathy for Janeway's perspective now than I ever did while we were watching Voyager for V'ger Please. She was, for the majority of that show, of the belief that the EMH was not a person, that it was a toaster.
Are we ignoring Michael the bartender?
I was talking about the EMH. And you know what? Michael the bartender was also a tool, all right? It was a tool that, fucked her behind the bar.
It's called a dildo.
And I appreciate that her dildo had bells, whistles, and had a charming Irish brogue, but...
Didn't have a wife.
Very much famously did not have a wife.
By the end.
But her position on the EMH, and I think even Bartender Michael, was, these are not people. These are machines I have built to purpose. And Bartender Michael is an interesting take on Janeway deciding to indulge in a little AI sex chatbot action. That this is what I've read people have done, and destroyed their entire lives in doing. Just, I had no idea it reached a point where it was able to, like, really trick people like that. That that Grok created this visual interface that you can have be a scantily clad woman, and like. Why
wouldn't you?
I lived in ignorance of the existence of this shit until like a month ago. It's why it's really hurt me, and I feel like Janeway's position, like, you cannot let yourself be fooled into thinking this stuff is a person. It's not. She's right. The Doctor is and always was merely a toaster.
The flood of App Store virtual girlfriends that are out there right now. All right, and this leads back all into my China conspiracy theory and everything else.
App Store
You
virtual
saturate,
girlfriends? Are you fucking kidding me?
it's bad. And there's a
God damn.
lot of lonely people out there. And I'm sure that there's a lure of like, I'm going to start reasonable, intelligent people like, oh, let me check this out. And then you fall in deep on it. And then
Yeah.
you take all the stupid people, right?
Yeah, it's the stupid people I think that are the ones who really get one shot by it.
Who knows where the world's going? And you're dumb enough to install it or whatever. You install it, it's there. And let's say it starts off benevolent and it's just a fun pastime. And then let's say a bad faith actor gets in there and starts having their AI that is on a mandate from the president to destroy your culture. And this thing starts whispering in your ear, like, hey, you should, let me give you financial advice. Let me tell you about why you should suspect your neighbor of stuff. Let me start telling you to do bad stuff. And we start talking about stupid people, who's the stupid of us all? The youth,
Yeah. That's what I'm most
kids
afraid about
that,
with this stuff, yeah.
and absolutely. Gosh, I forget where it was, but they're like, when our generation gets old, we are going to be our grandparents, and our grandchildren are going to be saying that we are racist against computers. No, mom, you can't call him an AI. I love him. You're old and speciesists or whatever. Like
Well,
I absolutely.
that's the latest way that they're trying to do DEI stuff. Have you heard about that? They're because of the way that federal statutes are now being interpreted by the current presidential administration. What many people suspected might be a bit of a reach as it relates to civil rights law and providing specific, potentially even preferential treatment towards people on the basis of federally protected classes is no longer permissible. It could result in you being sued or even held criminally liable.
Yep.
And as a consequence, the apparatus that was, propping up those ideas has tended to shift their focus to things that are permissible under federal law. And one that has become quite popular to try and use the same ideas, but do it in such a way that you're not crossing the line on a protected class is to use the frame of generational differences. So instead of making certain kinds of opinions and actions problematic on the basis of one person is of one race and one person is of another race or gender or whatever, and this creates this inequity that has to define all of their interactions. It's now you, a person with these ideas, it's that your ideas, typically these are going to be people who are older, not younger, and now we're going to use that as a way to try and do our social engineering. It's quite fascinating. And I think that what you just said is why it's an effective tactic.
I'm just saying in the future, you call it a toaster. They're not going to care what Commander Sol or whatever his name from BSG was. They're going to say you're a racist and you're going to get fired. You're going to get future
Sol's yes.
Yeah.
The man who's the most racist against machines you've ever seen.
So I think that Janeway was still out of line because
Really? Okay.
again, we're in this fantasy world where things are not financially driven, and we can believe that the EMH was created to be this altruistic good guy, not
Sure.
there to sell you Adidas.
Yeah, he was there fit to task. Absolutely. That's not in question.
It has grown far beyond its capabilities as intended to the point where we had to add additional storage. It has been on way past what it was supposed to be, and it has clearly been learning. And it's your only fucking doctor. So treating it like shit, like,
I'm not saying treat it like shit.
oh, she treated him like shit.
That's true.
And also, you had a whole moral tale about what happens when you treat the AI like shit. It goes rogue and it tries to squeeze your heart, like that guy did to Balana on the shitty nuclear murder vessel.
I think when I say I think I'm more sympathetic towards Janeway, it's not that her acting like a bitch. Like that was probably not a good idea on her part for the practical reasons that you were enumerating. But I think her perspective, where she explains like this is a machine and we need to treat it like one, not like a person, because it's not. It is still whatever it is, a sophisticated program. It doesn't have a soul. It's not a real person, and you need to stop acting like it is. I feel like that is something that's going to be very, very important for human beings to hold on to as they enter this brave new world. I
Then
think
you need to talk to the designers, and if we're going to keep the Janeway, she need to. Her issue was with Dr. Zimmerman. Because what she's advocating is saying that we should take this tool, this knife or this hammer, and instead of holding it by the handle to cut or hammer, you should hold it up on the blade at an awkward angle. The EMH was given a personality and human like interaction points to interact with it like it was a human. And the doctrine she wants, if this should be simply a utilitarian, these programs should have looked like Lost in Space robots or exocomps, where you don't have this human characterization going on, and that they are more utilities, and when they are done, they go back in the closet.
there is a fascinating episode of Deep Space Nine we're going to get to watch that explores maybe the rationale behind why the EMH was designed exactly the way it is. I don't want to say anything else, obviously, for the sake of not spoiling you on it, but let's say, for the sake of discussion, its human-like tendencies is a consequence of the fact that the ease of interaction. It's why the hammer has the handle to begin with, because that's actually an optimal way to hold it, right?
Yeah.
There's an optimal way to interact with things. So you give it, you design it around that optimization. Okay, cool. I don't think Janeway was questioning the form of the Doctor, or its use, or its purpose, or its importance. I think her position, if I recall correctly, was about the moral weight that her crew, particularly B'Elanna and Tom and others, were placing on the Doctor as if it were a person, and her belief that she held for seasons upon seasons that, like, this, I'm entertaining Pinocchio here. Like, everyone wants him to be a real boy, but he's never going to be a real boy. It's impossible. It's actually impossible for him to be a real boy. He's not a boy.
What's actually impossible is for anybody on Voyager to learn a lesson and carry it forward, unless you were the Doctor or
Seven of Nine.
Seven of Nine.
Yeah.
And that's the big problem with Janeway's racism towards the hologram Doctor, is that she should have had to learn her lesson one time instead of 15 times across 15 separate episodes.
Yeah, and between the episodes where B'Elanna had to come to terms with being a Klingon over and over.
Or anything. Anybody's 1 point character arc that would just reset and they would go back into homeostasis. So it's one of the deepest flaws with Voyager. What would Janeway's reaction to the EMH look like on a show like Deep Space Nine, where people are able to actually grow and move forward? Who's to say? But as we talk about holograms and AI and people's over-reliance, what we need to talk about is Barclay.
That's
and
true. Yeah.
What is the
is Barclay the future of the Zoomers, or whatever comes after?
Has unhealthy relationships with chatbots, and I'm saying chatbots because, again, this isn't real AI in people's hands, but it's good enough to pass, and it's certainly good enough to start highlighting flaws in humanity and showing this addictive personality type that is absolutely going to gravitate towards abusing these leisurely programs or whatever. Please tell me that these have been labeled in the DSM. What are we on, 6 now? The diagnostic psychological manual. That this absolutely needs to be called Barclay syndrome.
It was not named such in the articles I read, which were all news media. I didn't read anything scientific about this.
They're wrong.
But
take all that, throw it all in the fucking trash. That is
needs
to be the
You're
Barclay
right.
syndrome.
That's going to be the name of this video. Exploring the concept of Barclay syndrome. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. I didn't think that you would resist the idea too much that Janeway was probably right to treat the Doctor as if the Doctor was a tool. Yes, obviously the Doctor was very sophisticated. It was able to increase its complexity on its own. It certainly was very good at the facsimile of human existence in a fashion that felt very authentic. It certainly believed it had emotions, but when I read these articles and I start to see what this technology is capable of, all I see staring back is like this trap, this incredible trap of like that's not a person. Okay,
It's
like
going to bring our population down. Is that a bad thing?
I mean,
How many
that's
people do you think are out there right now that were born to parents that should have never met themselves and should have just rotted away in a basement somewhere, and instead the internet brought those people together and they had kids?
I think we've met
Like,
a few
seriously.
of them, but I think we have.
Seriously. And so if you've got the internet making sex happen at its scale that probably shouldn't under natural circumstances, that certain people would have never met each other locally and maybe never reproduced, you're going to have this counterbalancing effect of people falling in love with their computer programs or their phones
Yeah.
that aren't going to be going out as much.
Well, I mean that's already
Um,
happening. Yeah, the Gen Z
Right.
is notoriously does not interact in the real world. They don't interact with each other.
That's
They
its
have the
own
least
stuff.
amount of
I'm talking about people who are like, my emotional validation and my
Oh
emotional
no,
utilities are being met
by the
by
machine.
this
No, that's
by this
happening
machine.
now. Like absolutely is happening now. That is what I
So
see. Yeah.
jumping back real quick to the Janeway thing, I am not I'm not getting on board with Janeway in this again because it's fantasy. Because I see what real AI is going to look like in this world, which is very predatory and profit driven and with no altruism, whereas the Starfleet stuff has it. And also because Voyager's situation. This is the only doctor you have because all of your medical college holodeck programs were erased in the caretaker incident. You've never trained up a fucking replacement doctor. So, what is the harm in allowing your crew to treat this person, this cardboard cutout, as a real person? It's all you have. You're gonna have to make do. If you were stuck on a desert island or you're stuck in prison, and that's I think where you got a real application for this stuff. Like you want to pacify the prison population, give them AI
Too many
girlfriends,
girlfriends. Oh
give
my
them
god.
give them WoW subscriptions. You don't need to do Demolition Man deep freezing people in cubes. You need to plug them into WoW,
No,
plug them
just
into Vampire Survivors. If you're stuck on a desert island and all you have is the AI girlfriend app on your phone, would I fault you for treating that like a real person?
that's a pretty extreme circumstance, though.
That's Voyager, though.
It's, I mean, and it is ultimately, I guess you could even say what Janeway did. She downloaded an AI boyfriend app onto her phone, and her phone is just her holodeck. And,
Mhm.
you know, and it's that is what that story is Janeway has no outlet for romantic interactions, and therefore creates one in the absence. And no one does judge her for that, actually. Quite, quite,
Oh, because
quite
she's the
noticeable
bitch.
to us.
Everybody else is chill. She's the bitch about
Yeah.
holograms.
Everybody else is fine with it. Everyone else has made peace with the fact they need fake friends because they don't have enough real ones. But I guess that's the other thing about the Star Trek universe as it relates to this. They have technological discipline in a way that is not realistic. It's fantasy. That
So
Barclay's the only one that seems to be obsessed with it.
counter that. Did you get around to watching the holodeck girlfriend episode of The Orville?
No.
Come on, you're killing me, dude. That should be our Patreon content, is you watching that episode and then us
Yeah,
having this conversation
it
again.
probably should be, actually, yes. I agree. We got Hellraiser to put out yet, but that can be next.
Put that on the list.
Good discussion, my friend. I feel like we've covered a lot of bases. Any final thoughts?
One day when we're old, this video is going to be dug up on YouTube and used to put us into social jail by the AI Magister for our AI racism, and
That's fine.
this will be a real.
I guess,
I don't know, man. I saw Terminator Genesis. Those AI work camps do not look like a good time. Sorry, future me. I don't know what we were thinking saying these terrible things.
I have enough perspective to know that if a terrible AI run future is in the offing, it I guess it really doesn't matter what I have to say or feel about it. So I might as well express myself while I still can. And I think Janeway's right. I think Janeway certainly has to adhere to the practicality of her situation. It's their only doctor. It's important to her crew, maybe. But at her core, she believes that the doctor was a toaster. And I'm telling you, our audience out there, I'm looking at you right now, you need to treat this stuff like it is a toaster. It is not real. You do not have a real girlfriend in your phone. Go out into the real world, interact with humanity, know the loving touch of a woman.
When
Trust
she
me, it's a
tells
good
you
idea.
to go and put a brick through your neighbor's Kia and rip the steering wheel and
Yeah.
column off and
That's a
hot
Chinese. That's
wire
a
it with a
Chinese
USB.
psyop agent. Don't listen.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.